Okay, so Grundfos has earned, I think it's a platinum EcoVadis rating for outstanding sustainability effort. I guess it would just be good to understand a little bit of the sort of significance of this achievement to the company, what it means to you.
Yes, for us in Grundfos, it's a great recognition of our work on sustainability across both social and environmental topics. And we're of course very proud of the platinum and that rating, which means that we are in the top 1% of all the companies rated. And I think the EcoVadis rating is also very important because in these days there are so many sustainability standards and sustainability looks different from across sectors. So having this very highly trusted and recognized international rating organization giving us a platinum, that's a huge endeavor, and we're very proud about that.
Yeah, and perhaps, I mean, you could give us just a bit more background for those particularly who don't understand it about the EcoVadis, the rating program. What is it? How does it work, if you like?
Yeah, so EcoVadis is an independent sustainability rating organization that has grown over the last decade or so. And now it actually rates and ranks 130,000 companies worldwide. So I would say it is the most trusted and well-recognized international rating. And what they do is then that companies submit a range of documentation within questions covering across environmental aspects. So that would be climate, water, circular economy, for example, social being human rights, work ethics, DE&I, diversity, equity, and inclusion, ethics in terms of anti-corruption, code of conduct, etc., and then also sustainable supply chain, sustainable procurement. So across all of these topics, as a company, you submit documentation, and then the experts in EcoVadis are going through all of that and rating the companies in terms of the maturity and the performance.
And I believe that last time you went through the process, you achieved a gold rating, and this time platinum. So did you sort of make a conscious effort, if you like, to redouble your efforts to get from gold to platinum, or was it just a natural, you just done what you were planning to do anyway, and it turns out that what you've done has gained you that extra thing? Or did you say, right, we got gold, now we need to get up to platinum? Just how you went from one to the other?
Yeah, we're quite ambitious and a bit competitive. So of course we wanted to get to platinum. But I would say it's a mix. So on one hand, this was the natural progression on our work, progressing on our climate goals, and our water, on human rights and supply chain. So we were able to show even better performance this year than last year. And at the same time, we also made a conscious effort to really look through our answers last year and identify where we were lacking a bit. And then also making sure we put in all the right documentation. Because one thing is to have a program and performance, but also really being able to document what you do, which also, of course, is related to having a solid process and written down procedures. So a mix of natural progress and then also making that extra effort of getting all the right documentation in there.
Okay, and perhaps we can sort of talk through some of the areas that you've already referenced in terms of the focus for the rating, and maybe start with Grundfos's net zero sort of ambitions, roadmap, etc. I mean, I know everyone theoretically has got to get there by 2050. I don't know if you have a more ambitious roadmap, or just, where and when net zero for Grundfos, I suppose.
Yes, so we do have a science-based target approved net zero goal for 2050. And we're actually the first in the water solution sector to have that validation from science-based targets in 2022, so almost 2 years ago now. So that is our North Star, our long-term goal. And then, of course, as part of that, you also set near-term goals for 2030. So here we're working to reduce our own scope 1 and 2 emissions from operations by 50%, and reduce our scope 3, so that is in our supply chain, and the use of our products by 25% in 2030. And we actually going to almost meet our 2030 goal in own operations this year on 25 through a large power purchase agreement on renewable energy. So really adding 80% of our electricity in the EU will be coming from renewable energy from later this year. And in terms of reducing the emissions in the use of our products, this is a very big majority, the big must-win battle for us, because that's actually 98.7% of our total emissions, which is more than 100 million tons of CO2, because pumps have a long lifetime and they do a lot of hard work, lifting, moving water, and that takes energy. So therefore, our roadmap for net zero is very much driven by accelerating our innovation of energy efficient pump solutions, water technologies, as well as also encouraging a transition to a green grid. So for us, the recipe for a green future is to have energy efficient solutions running in a green grid.
Okay, and perhaps if I can just ask a supplementary there before going on to some of the other, you're clearly a truly global organisation. So just quickly, how difficult is it to manage, I guess, the sustainability program when I'm sure different parts of the world are at slightly different, shall we say, places on the sustainability journey? Is that a very difficult thing to manage, or can you kind of control it because you have this mission and therefore you can sort of get everyone to sign up to it?
Yes, I would say the way we amplify our goal and our efforts internally in Grundfos is through our 4 business divisions that are all of them global in reach and reaching different customer segments, from domestic house owners to large industry, commercial buildings, and water utilities. So that's our arm, our global reach. We of course see a difference in customer interest and focus on carbon emission reductions, where Europe has been leading for years, but we're definitely seeing an increasing uptake and interest in Asia Pacific and also from companies in water utilities in the US, for example. So the tide is rising. And of course, there is a good business case in saving energy, that is saving carbon emissions, and it's also saving life cycle costs for our customers. So in that sense, it is global. Of course, another aspect is that the grid is not global. So when we sell a pump that lasts for 10 years, then the carbon emissions of that pump are very dependent on the grid factor in where it operates. So in countries where there's a high share of renewable energy, then the carbon emissions are lower, whereas in black grid markets, then the carbon emissions are also higher. So that is a factor that we're looking into also, of course, as we're seeking to grow the company in the coming years around the world.
Well, thanks for that. And then back to some of the sort of focus areas for the rating, maybe climate and water goals and achievements would be good to understand. What you've achieved with that.
Yes, so on the carbon emission reductions, since our baseline in 2020, we have reduced 11.7% by the end of 23. So that's a good chunk and good progress towards our 25% in 2030. And in terms of water, we have our current strategy that's focused both on reducing water withdrawal in our own operations, as well as then helping our customers save water in their operations. And we're super proud here that we actually reached 96% of our goal for 2025. We reached that now by the end of 23, which is to reduce by half our water withdrawal in operations. And we helped customers around the world, especially large corporations, reduce their water consumption with 1.6 billion cubic meters of water. So helping to save much more water than we use in our own operations. And then, of course, last but not least, the social aspect and the sustainable supply chain. So we have a massive program on human rights. Last year, we launched human rights education modules being amplified also around the world, translated into 11 languages to make it more accessible, because we really want to build this understanding and a culture in Grundfos of understanding what does it mean to be respecting human rights? How can we make sure we are not having a negative impact, or without even wanting or knowing it, how can we make sure we're not discriminating? how can, especially in the procurement department, how can they be sure that suppliers are also living up to our expectations and standards on human rights and environment. And this is then where our colleagues in our group purchasing department have done a lot of great work also here of really ramping up our efforts with sustainable procurement and direct collaboration with our top suppliers.
Yep, I was going to ask, sort of, in order to make all the progress, the sustainability progress you discussed, I mean, I guess you have to engage with the whole supply chain to sort of, hopefully you'll meet some like-minded folks, but others you might need to sort of encourage, shall we say, to get on side with you. So just, I don't know if you can give us a flavour of the work that you have to undertake to engage with the supply chain to get their help and support with the activities that you're undertaking.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. And I think first I would say we have a motto, which is sustainability is a team sport. And that goes within the company because so many departments and functions and business units are involved. But it also really goes in collaborating across our value chain with suppliers and with customers, and of course with broader stakeholders and policymakers as well. So it's really about orchestrating this movement, because we do need to move faster and further and accelerate the progress as a company and as a global society. So what we do, for example, with suppliers, you can say that the basic level is that we also ask them to evaluate and be rated. And actually, we also use EcoVadis in our supplier engagement and supplier management program. So we have more than 400 suppliers who have also been rated by EcoVadis, which gives us a sense of their performance, and also, of course, where we might go in and encourage them to strengthen their efforts. Then we have the classical external audits also pointing out where there are things to look into in terms of corrective actions. So you see that's more on the basic level. Then in terms of carbon emission reductions, in terms of materials, we are reaching out and engaging more and more with suppliers to motivate them, to engage them and accelerate their efforts. One example is a partnership that we are joining in Denmark with an aim to expand across Europe in the coming years, where we, as one of the, you can say, the large trees in the forest, are going in and working with our smaller suppliers to support them in their journey. So here we're working with a large university in Denmark and advisors. So we share our knowledge, our experience, and then to help grow the suppliers and build out tools that can then benefit other suppliers in the future.
Yeah, and on the customer side, I guess sort of downstream in the supply chain, really once you sell a pump to a certain extent, it's up to the customer sort of what they do with it. But do you, in terms of the engaging with customers, when they ask for a certain solution, would you sort of go as far as to query sort of why that, what's the application, why are you asking for that, and guide them to the sort of most sustainable solution, and then sort of educate them as well as to the ways of operating, maintaining, so I guess just what level of engagement, I guess, you have with customers in terms of helping them or instructing them on the sort of sustainability side of things?
I would say we have ranging across all levels. So one example is we have our energy audits and also now water audits, where our team of advisors come in and actually help the customer assess their pump situation, their pump need, and where they can save and optimize energy by implementing more energy efficient and intelligent solutions, because the digital intelligence is also super important here to be able to monitor and optimize how they work. So we do that. We advise customers, and we often see that if you take, for example, an old traditional pump and replace it with an energy efficient pump, then customers can save 37% of their energy, which is both a cost saving and an emission saving. So we are in there to help customers assess their energy, but also, of course, to design and scope the best systems for them, the best solutions.
And I guess one other thing in terms of your own activities, in terms of product design, whether you're sort of changing some of the materials you might use, with sort of circularity, end of life circularity in mind, and just the way that your solutions operate in terms of the energy efficiency which you've represented. So I guess just again, if you can give us some idea of how much sort of effort you put into improving, if you like, the sustainability of the design, the manufacturing process, and even the solutions themselves when it comes to how they operate for customers.
So, I mean, so sustainability and driving energy efficiency of solutions is one of the, that's king in terms of our innovation efforts for sure. We also have a lot of efforts on advancing digital intelligent solutions, because again, that enables customers to connect it to monitoring systems. It enables them to control the pump so it doesn't go full speed all the time, but you can vary the speed according to the need. If it's a water utility, for example, you don't want to have full power all day. You want to have full power in the mornings, and you can turn down over the day and then in the evenings again. So these intelligent solutions that really help customers to run their equipment in the most efficient way, and also save other resources, say water, but also other resources. Another example of that is a solution that we've had for years actually, but that we keep optimizing, is the demand-driven distribution, which is helping water utilities again to better understand and manage the pressure of the pump by installing sensors in the network, in the pipe network, so that the water utility will know, okay, there's a high pressure, I can turn it down a bit, or there's a lower. So with that, again, enabling to control and save energy, but actually also moderating the pressure in the pipes so they can reduce leakage of water, which is another issue for water providers.
Okay, and maybe just looking ahead to sort of end up in terms of the work that's still to be done, would you say that your roadmap is pretty much established and therefore it's just doing things that you know about, if you like, to get there? Or do you think there's more sort of innovation and things that you maybe don't know about today that will sort of come onto the road? Just, I suppose, how in control do you feel as to the roadmap, as opposed to things that you are still not sure, how you might achieve them, if that makes sense?
Yeah, so I think in sustainability, there's always a next level. Partly because the field is still maturing and developing, and partly because the world is developing the way it is, with increasing climate impacts, climate challenges, water crisis, social injustice. There's plenty of things to be working on. I'm an optimist by nature, so I'm super grateful to see that movement where also large multinationals like Grundfos and the biggest companies in the world are also really focused on driving sustainability and this whole new notion of net positive, not only reducing harm, but also looking at how can you as a company really leverage your core competencies to develop solutions. And this is very much the purpose of Grundfos, to pioneer solutions to the world's water and climate challenges and improve quality of life for people. So this is what we do. This is what we've been doing for many years. But the next level here is in terms of climate. We focused a lot on our net zero, reducing carbon emissions goal. Now my climate team is working to expand the focus in a climate transition action plan, it's called, where we also look broader beyond the value chain. We look at future carbon capture, but we also look at resilience and adaptation and how we can engage proactively with policymakers to drive uptake of energy efficient solutions, and not least also to push for this green transition and a just transition that we need. In terms of water, we are also really taking the step to the next level here, working on developing a holistic water stewardship framework that ranges across our value chain. So with our suppliers, reducing their water risk and water consumption, which is of course also contributing to a more resilient supply chain for Grundfos, in our own operations, and not least with our customers, where again, as a solutions provider, this is where we have a big opportunity to further push and promote the solutions we have already for water efficiency, for water resilience in an era of climate impacts, and also engaging in cross-sector partnerships with, for example, C40 which is a network of close to 100 cities around the world. We work with them to help the mayors build models for more water resilient and climate resilient cities that are also more livable for their customers, for their citizens. So there's always more to do. We are expanding in terms of our next level of ambitions, but also really expanding the scope and entering much more into partnerships and policy influencing, so that we can help to change the system that we all need towards what we see must be a just, a green, and a resilient future.
And you mentioned, I think, at the start of that, you are an optimist. And are you optimistic that, because I mean, just using the UK as an example, I mean, everyone jokes that it rains all the time in the UK, but I mean, we have water scarcity issues. And I think it's by 2050, there could be, some serious issues. Yeah, it seems to me we're not necessarily going at the right pace to address that kind of issue. Do you get at all sort of worried or frustrated that in large parts of the world, people just don't seem to understand that whether it's droughts or flood or whatever it is, that the extreme weathers are here to stay and therefore do need addressing soon, as opposed to, yes, we'll kind of, we'll do that sometime in the future?
Yeah, I think I should probably say I'm an optimist by choice, because there's definitely plenty to be depressed about. And you're very right, there are some global challenges, and I think especially on the climate impact and the water crisis, people don't really realize it enough. Today, there are still 2 billion people who don't have access to safe drinking water in their home or near their home. At the same time now, with climate impacts, 2 billion people are at risk of flooding and heavy rain impacting their livelihoods. We have serious water quality issues many places in the world. So it's definitely a global situation that needs all of us to step up and take action. So I think my optimism is that I see that this is happening, but you are right, it's not happening fast enough and at scale to what we need. So, and of course, in the bigger global scene, there are a lot of complicated dynamics here. So I keep my faith in a better future, but definitely also the need for all of us to step up and do everything we can from where we are.
Okay, it's been lovely to chat to you, Louise, and share insights into Grundfos's sort of sustainability journey and your thoughts about some of the issues facing us all. So really appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thanks, Philip.
Thank you.